my team's always motivated. They've been with me for a long time. But the new owner, Dr. Raymond, and his team got together with my staff and implemented Google reviews, try to motivate the patients to give us reviews, and then it just spurred from that.
One of the things that you've added recently is you guys have been doing lunch and learns for other practices. What did you guys do and how did that help your business?
We've always gone to market practices, but now all we have is now one day off because we're so busy. So they go on the days that we're off or there's no doctor in the office, to the general dental offices with food, of course, and then tell them the new stuff we have at the office.
Welcome back to another episode. I'm your host, Gary Bird. I'm the owner of SMC National, where we help offices just like yours level the playing field so you can grow the way that you want. And today I got Dr. Edward Dove, who's actually one of our clients here at SMC. And he's going to share his journey, how he went from practice owner to associate and just had one of their biggest months ever when it comes to new patients. This is a really fun and unique episode. And if you either work with associates or you're thinking about hiring an associate or you're thinking about selling your practice, this is an episode that you're going to want to pay attention to. Stay tuned. All right, we are live, and I'm excited to have this conversation with Dr. Eddie Dove because, you know what, there's so many different ways to be successful in dental, and this is going to be a unique opportunity to have a conversation with somebody who's been in the dental industry for a long time and who recently sold his practice. He's now an associate at this practice, and we were just having a conversation on here, and for the last 6 months that we've worked together, and I've been tracking this pretty closely, you had a 36% boost in your new patients. So the last 6 months, you saw 36% more new patients this year than the year before. So I want to start there and talk a little bit about your experience of working with SMC, getting those new patients in, and then diving into just your unique experience of you now working in a practice that you built from the ground up. So tell me a little bit about what it's felt like to have this kind of growth, the 36% increase in. You've probably noticed this before, but this podcast is unsponsored. What that means is we don't get paid to do it, but we want to bring you the best information possible. So how do we make sure that this content stays on the air? We need you to like and subscribe. Wherever you're at, whatever you're listening on, just give us a thumbs up or subscribe, and that helps us out so much. I know that you probably haven't done it, so I'm just going to sit here and wait until you do. 95% of our listeners have not subscribed to our podcast. So go ahead and do it now. Don't make this awkward. All right, good. Back to the show.
Well, it was unusual. So, I've been marketing. This practice was mine back in 2006. I built it from scratch. And I did the usual, mail, commercials, billboards. And it definitely grew from nothing to a big practice. But since the new owner took over, I'm definitely seeing a lot of newer patients coming in, new patients, and even boosted the recall much, much more. We went from 2 to 3 days a week. We're 4 days a week now, and we're scheduled out.
That's awesome.
Exams at least a week or two. Restorative, I'm booked out a month to 2 months out.
That's
we're
so
booked
cool.
Right now in October.
That's
Yes.
a good problem. Good problem to have.
It's a good problem, yes.
Yeah, and I know one of the ways that you guys did this is I was looking at your phone conversion, and I know this really hits home for you because this is your team. This is your team that you raised, that you worked with for years. So this doesn't happen by accident when I'm about to explain. Last year, the same 6-month period, you had 55% phone conversion, which industry average is 50%. So you were a little bit over industry average. And then the last 6 months, you're at 65%. So that's a 10% increase. But in the last 3 months, you're at 77%. So that's a 22% increase over last year. Tell me a little bit about that. How did you do that? And what did you do with your team and keeping them motivated and getting them to be able to do that?
Well, I'll be honest. My team's always motivated. They've been with me for a long time. But the new owner, Dr. Raymond, him and his team got together with my staff and implemented, get Google reviews, try to motivate the patients to give us reviews, and then it just spurred from that. And so I've never been into that. I'm old school. So I'm now just a worker. I'm just a clinician there handling it. They're the new managers.
Yep.
But with their input, their business input, it grew. We're just so busy now, way more than before.
That's so cool. That's really, really good. And then I know one of the things that you've added recently is you guys, or maybe you had it before, but I think it's new to you guys. You guys have been doing lunch and learns for other practices. Is that right?
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about that. Like, what did you guys do, and how did that help your business?
So, I mean, we've always gone to market practices, but now all they have is now one day off because we're so busy. So they go on the days that we're off, or there's no doctor in the office, to the general dental offices with food, of course, and then tell them the new stuff we have at the office, the new types of sedations, the new type. We have an anesthesiologist now in the office. They didn't know that. We're one of the few specialty practices that have that now. So it teaches the other offices in the county pretty much what we offer now.
That's great, because we have seen, since you've been implementing those, the way that you've been doing them recently, about your new capabilities of what you guys can do clinically, your patient referrals have been climbing. So this is a good lesson from a marketing standpoint.
From other professionals, yes.
Yeah. And so your doctor referrals have been going up because you guys have been having these conversations. So this is a really good way to, a lot of times people say, hey, I have this unique thing that we're doing that's different than everybody else. This is a great way to get it in front of people. And doctors want to refer to each other, especially if it's something they can't do.
Right.
So tell me, has there been anything else that you've kind of learned as you guys have been growing over the last 6 months? What are some other things that you've seen or felt that have been positives for you guys as you've grown?
Well, basically, it's the dealing with the patients in giving us good reviews, trying to build up the practice through our existing patients. That I never did before. I just gave them good service and they came back. But now they're really, can you give us a review? Can you tell other people, about us? And then with the lunch and learn, now we're having practice never even heard of us before that are now referring us patients. So,
and then can you tell me a little bit about your journey, because your journey is unique, right? So you built this amazing office. You now are an associate at that office, but you obviously have a vested interest in seeing your team succeed, seeing the organization succeed. You're obviously compensated, right? So tell me a little bit about that transition, because not a lot of people talk about that.
Well, again, I'm old school. So I started with, 25 years ago, 30 years ago with mail. Send out postcards, and that doesn't work anymore. It just doesn't work anymore. So I moved over to commercials, radio, billboards. That's good, but now with the internet and the Google reviews and all that, it's just so much better. We've never been this busy. It's definitely been a journey, IT journey, I should say.
An IT, yes. Yeah, a lot of more digital things, digitally being able to track it, digitally new patients finding you, being able to see how your team's performing, your ROI, all those kind of things. It's really, really
Correct.
Cool. We're definitely in a new age, and a lot of things changing, but you've adapted really well. What would be your, I'm thinking about somebody who's going to watch this, right? That may, have been thinking about selling or thinking, tell me a little bit about what you would tell to somebody in your shoes maybe 10 years ago. What would you say to them today based on the decisions that you've made and how you've managed your practice with partnerships?
In regards to marketing?
Not just marketing, but just being an associate at a practice that you built over the years. Again, most people, and I'll say it this way, most people don't ever come on a podcast and have a conversation post sale. Okay. So after that is kind of like, hey, I'm hands off. I'm serving my time. I can tell you care deeply about your patients. You care deeply about your team. You care deeply about the organization. Tell me a little bit about that point of view and kind of where you're at. Especially speak to the Dr. Dove 10 years ago.
So I would definitely, I got lucky. The person who bought my practice he's hands off. He's basically hands on. He says, let me just do the management and you work, which is great. So I ran this practice. Most of the staff there has been 20 plus years with me. So they grew up with me. So I got that handled down. But the spurt of growth is because of the new management. So I would recommend, unless you're ready to retire and get out, what I did was, I'm still younger, I just turned 60, is just I can semi-retire, you want to call it. And then still grow the practice. Like I said, I've never seen the practice grow so much. So
you let go of some of the things that maybe you didn't like to manage as much, and you still get to do all the things you love doing. Is that what I'm hearing?
Correct.
Yeah, the clinical.
I went into semi-retirement mode.
Semi-retirement. What do you mean by the semi-retirement? It's not. Are you working?
Well, there's no more management. And instead of working 4 or 5 days a week, I want to work 2. They request I work 3 days a week. So
that's a good meet in the middle.
I work 3 days a week, and they have another doctor there 1 to 2 days. and just that's fine with me for now.
That's so awesome. Well,
So that's what I highly recommend. A nice transition out.
that's awesome. Well, great job. I really appreciate it. I know that you took time out of your day on your schedule. You didn't have to do this, right? There's no upside for you to do this. So I really appreciate you coming on, sharing your journey, and just sharing what's been going on with you. And I appreciate the opportunity to work with you and to see you guys grow. And great job on making good decisions, working with the right people, building up your team, and building the kind of life that you want. And amazing job. You hear so many people complain out there about what's going on in the dental industry, but you've done an excellent job navigating it and figuring out how to make it work for you, and still providing amazing clinical service to your patients. So and taking care of your team. So great job.
Sure. Thank you.
Thanks.